Ooh. All right. Could it not be that Elon is doing the ketamine trial then? I'm not trying to gotcha or anything, but just the fact that he has a ketamine prescription, it seems like thin evidence for abuse, no? I don't know if he abuses ketamine or not. Just Elon's behavior is really hard to explain, and he got really pained when Don Lemon asked him questions about it. But I think these are like questions that I think it's fair for normal people to know. That's all I was saying before. And his answers were just like very weird. Thanks for agreeing with me on my super chat. Some chatters taking it the wrong way. I condemn any hatred against Jews. I just want to call the hypocrisy of Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and right-wing Jews who grift off Trump and promote hate. That's great. That's fine. Pro-Zionist Jews just have an issue in that they can't see ahead more than like 24 months. Whatever is good for Israel right now, they think is good for Israel forever, and they will be the downfall of your country. Good luck. Can the behavior be explained with the simplest explanation? He has Asperger's. Not only does he not have Asperger's, I don't believe you or I don't know. Autism is not the magical escape thing for every single thing that you have. That's so cringe. Please stop saying that. Holy fuck. Asperger's doesn't mean that you lie about your gaming career and fabricate like fantastic stories about you. Like on the Joe Rogan Experience, he said he just uses it when he needs it, not on a set schedule. Fine. Show me. Link me. Joe Rogan, Elon, ketamine. Doesn't talk about it here. Where? 146.13. Wait, really?
Critics out here acting like it's the end of civilization as we know it, but it's not fair, they cry, as if life ever was. Newsflash, it's like a marathon where some people start with rollerblades on, others, well, they're just happy to have shoes. Well, now we're arguing over who gets to wear the skates.
Okay, some of it is not bad. Imagine if we applied this logic elsewhere. Identify as an airplane. Can I fly with the birds in the sky?
Good one. Destiny, didn't you literally confess on stream that you used to buy it off the streets before getting prescribed? If this isn't abuse, what is? LOL. I can't tell how much is just like bad faith dipshittery or like what's actually. So I have used amphetamines recreationally. I love MDMA. I think it's a great drug. Okay, it's fun, but I would never say that I used MDMA to treat my ADHD. If I'm using MDMA, it's a recreational use. It's for fun. And then whatever amphetamine, dextroamphetamine or methamphetamine that me and Mel got in Amsterdam was also just like a fun drug, right? When I first tried Adderall, I don't know if I would say it was therapeutic. I mean, I was using a friend's prescription. That was like just basically a thing that I got. But after that, for about a year and 3 months, I guess, I don't know. I've just been on a prescription. I had a prescription. I've taken my prescription. I don't think you should ever, or I wouldn't recommend, I guess, diagnosing yourself or doing your own treatments. But even when I was using Adderall from a friend, the most I ever used was 20 milligrams XR a day. It was just whatever it's not like I was like on some days I was like doing like 100 milligrams of Adderall or some insane fucking drug mixing, trialing or crazy shit. Like it was always just whatever would have been within the therapeutic guidelines anyway. The problem with things like, I wonder if ketamine has a higher propensity for abuse than Adderall, like the instant release. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. I know that some people have fucked their lives up with ketamine, but dissociatives are very unfun drugs for me. Although I say that, but I've only ever done like whippets or nitrous oxide before. I can't imagine doing a longer version of that for fun. It seems very not fun to me, but I have no idea. But I'm also not in control of the world's largest social media platform right now either, so. Is ketamine addictive? I don't know. There are people that get addicted to ketamine and destroy their life on it, but I don't know how I don't know like the pathway for that addiction, or I don't know how that works compared to like alcohol or like benzos or whatever else. But like when I was in Atlanta, I actually did a show on another guy's podcast called Mr. Bill. And this guy, this dude? fuck, I don't know where his podcast stuff is, but he's public about this, right? He's talking about this. He had I think for 2 years he was addicted to ketamine, and he did a whole thing.
I was put
This guy.
on a dubstep night.
Is that Hawk too?
That's like for headbangers.
Tim had died from a ketamine addiction himself. Did you disclose your past drug use before you got your ADHD diagnosis and prescription? To my first doctor? Fuck no. But to my second one? Yeah, I did. Is this guy making fun of women that had C-sections? What?
Are those shooting stars?
What is it?
What are those?
Look up, everybody! Look up! Look up!
Damn. Aren't amphetamines some of the most commonly abused drugs? Like, that's why Vyvanse was created to stop the abuse of the more previous instant release medications. I think instantaneous amphetamines can be abused. I think that the long-term ones are less prone to be abused. But I think there's a lot of different ways that you can, or there's two different ways, I guess, you can abuse amphetamines in a way that's different than other drugs. And that one, like, people will just take it because they think it makes them better at school. And then you've also got people who are just trying to get high. But I don't know if you would ever abuse an amphetamine to get high, like Adderall or Vyvanse. Vyvanse, I don't think you would, because it's long release. And I don't think most people that abuse those drugs abuse the extended release ones. But also, I think you would just get, like, methamphetamine. I don't know how expensive, like, methamphetamine is. I've never bought straight meth off the streets before. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, but however much street meth costs, it's going to be way fucking cheaper than either Adderalls or Vyvanse. It must be cheaper. That'd be my guess. It must be, right? Because Adderall and Vyvanse is insanely fucking expensive, I think. Can you crush up long release and boof or snort, or would it still not get you as high? You can't snort Vyvanse. I don't think you can for the Adderall XR. For the Adderall IR you could, but for XR you can. You just need to crush it. The XR has those, like, the capsules surrounding the amphetamine salts, but I don't know if you crush it, if it breaks that or not. I'm not sure. I just don't know. I have no idea. Okay, the ground news bias ratings assess the political bias of news publications. They are based on the average rating of 3 independent news monitoring organizations. All sides, okay, we already read those. Combination ratings. Ratings, okay. Far left. These publications tend to reflect the policy positions of most extreme left-leaning party members. They're strongly biased towards liberal causes through story selection and or political affiliation. And then the far right ones. Does this include then, like, socialists and stuff? It says party members. I wonder if this includes, like, crazy progressives and everything. Wait, the fuck? Wait, am I crazy? Nope. Okay, goodbye. I just had a pretty much all-day debate on why the TikTok ban isn't a bad thing. At the end of the day, I swear it was worse than arguing with pro-Palestinians, hyper-Zionists, and magtards. That's going to be hard because most people are not like making legal arguments. They're just making arguments that sound or feel right, or they're making, like, kind of personal value arguments. This is, in my opinion, nobody's going to read this case or think anything about the law about it because the law is lame and no one cares. Fuck me, but. This is the strongest version of the government's argument, and I actually think it's a really compelling argument for why the TikTok ban is good. I think the issue is that TikTok is in a very special state right now where through ByteDance, TikTok can do a bunch of criminal stuff. And when I say criminal, I mean criminal under US law stuff with our data by passing it over to ByteDance, because China can ask ByteDance for whatever it wants. It can get whatever it wants and then do whatever it wants with that data in ways that are beyond the criminal accountability that would exist in the United States. You can't do anything. You can't do anything to China because it's the U.S. It's out of the jurisdiction, right? However, when TikTok wants to do things in the United States, they get to enjoy all of the privileges of the First Amendment that a U.S. citizen or corporation is allowed to enjoy. So you're in a very weird world where TikTok can do a lot and enjoy all the protections of a U.S. citizen while not having any of the criminal accountability of a U.S. citizen because their parent company is in another country, a foreign adversary at that. And that's a problem, and I think it's a legitimate problem that's worth legislating and worth addressing on a legal basis. I think that's worth, yeah. Is this unique to TikTok? For social media companies right now, yeah. I think it is. Can domestic companies do bad things? Yes. However, those owners or leaders could be held criminally accountable, right? You can charge them with crimes. You can bring them up in front of Congress. There are things that you can do. You can subpoena them and investigate them. You can't do that with China, right? I think that's a worthy thing legally to contend with. Yeah. Why do these companies only survive under a Chinese company? Because ByteDance owns TikTok. ByteDance is a Chinese company. They own TikTok. But if I'm not mistaken, Citizens United recognize the First Amendment rights of corporations are no different from those of individuals. Yes, but that's the issue, is that TikTok can both enjoy First Amendment rights but also be beyond criminal reproach because ByteDance is outside of the country. Right? Is their behavior unique in any way? I mean, ByteDance has been shown, the record shows that they have done bad things, that China has done bad things with that data. So, I mean, yes.
Finally, with respect to the question of whether ByteDance has taken action on the PRC's demands, there is evidence in the record that Congress consulted to demonstrate that outside of China, ByteDance has taken action to misappropriate data at the PRC's request. That included efforts to track dissidents in Hong Kong, protesters there, to track Uyghurs in China itself. We know that ByteDance has misappropriated U.S. data with respect to surveilling of U.S. journalists, and there was evidence in the record reinforcing the conclusion that ByteDance has been asked by the PRC to undertake efforts to censor content and manipulate the platform at the behest of the Chinese government. So I don't think there is a factual basis to dispute the record that Congress had before it.
I mean, you can go and Google any of the individual things, but yeah, it seems like, yeah, ByteDance has done these things, so. Personally, I think any argument against this law has to be about the law, is that the law shouldn't have been passed or repealed, or some other law should have taken its place. Any argument that the Congress doesn't have the power to regulate a company like TikTok is without merit. Well, the question is if we consider it just a U.S. person, then Congress has a very, very, very high threshold to meet in order to regulate that company, because you're literally you're regulating speech. That's the First Amendment thing. So the burden for why you have a particular law limiting speech is very, very, very high. So I think a lot of it will come down to the standard of review that's applied to the case. So obviously the plaintiffs, TikTok and ByteDance, and the influencers that were being represented by that one attorney guy are arguing that it should be a rational basis review. They were arguing that it should be a strict scrutiny review, that First Amendment rights are being implicated, and the government needs to provide an incredibly compelling and narrowly tailored reason and law in order to restrict this. And the government was saying that, well, no, we don't think that the speech is implicated at all, because TikTok can literally say and do exactly every single thing it's doing now. That's fine. Like, none of the speech has to change. It just can't be controlled by a foreign adversary who's outside of our criminal control or investigation. Yeah, I think the government put a good argument forth for it, but. How long do you think apps like Red Note will be around for? Probably not long, but who knows? But yeah, the government also said that even if it was a stricter intermediate scrutiny, they'd still win. So, which the lower court, the DC Circuit Court, said as much. I think the DC Circuit Court evaluated it under strict scrutiny standard of review, and they still found that the government's case was supported. So. Okay, so these are the articles sorted by all factuality. Ooh, I wonder how they rank. Factuality. I guess they probably use those three rating agencies. Shouldn't Americans have the right to be propagandized by China, though? Sure, but should China enjoy First Amendment protections in the United States? Can you explain the scrutiny thing? Basically, when you're reviewing a law by the government that's restricting your freedom in some way, you have to figure out what freedom or what class is being restricted. And depending on how suspect the class is, meaning... I'm assuming this, but I think it means, like, how weird is it that you're implicating this class? So, like, I think a quasi-suspect class would be, like, gender, right? Like, it makes sense that you might treat men and women differently, like in gyms. But, like, I think a highly suspect class would be, like, race. Why are you treating races of people differently? That's really weird. So, quasi-suspect class is more likely to be an intermediate scrutiny case. A highly suspect class, very sussy baka, is likely to be a strict scrutiny case. The higher the standard of review, the higher the burden is on the government to prove why they need that law and that the law is narrowly tailored enough and doesn't infringe on freedom of speech unless there's a compelling state reason to do so. So for rational basis, nothing big is being implicated. Whatever the government says is probably going to pass. Like everybody wins. The government always wins rational basis cases. It's just like you just have to have a reason why you have this law. Intermediate is harder. I think the basis is on the government, and then strict scrutiny is much harder. They have to, because you're implicating a fundamental right or a highly suspect class. Okay, let me see what else I need for this thing. Okay, add structure, do this. What are the chances that Trump finds a way to let TikTok operate in the US? Trump can actually do it theoretically on day one, because I think that there's a carve out in the legislation for the president to give a particular media company, social media company, a path forward, but I don't know if he will or not. I'm not sure. Why is Biden trying to save it now? Is Biden trying to save TikTok? I haven't heard that, if that's true. Do you think the rights are noted in the U.S. Constitution should be for all or just for U.S. soil? Are they human rights or just geographical rights? I don't know. I'd have to read the writings on that. I think some are and some aren't. I think it just depends. Biden administration looks for ways to keep TikTok available in the U.S. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure it's going to be banned on the 19th. I don't know how they could possibly save it. A White House official insisted that not enforcing the ban, if it is upheld, is not an option. Yeah, that would not be, yeah. What do you think of Pam Bondi's hearing? I don't know. Didn't watch it. Technically, the law applies to like other third parties that transact with one of the affected platforms, and those suits are initiated by the Attorney General, if I could recall correctly. That is correct. One of the big things about the law is that if anybody does business with any of the people that do business with TikTok, unless it's for compliance purposes, I think is the carve out. I'm not gonna be able to fucking find this. Fuck. Is also subject to the same penalties. But if TikTok just goes dark on the 19th, then I don't think that'll apply, assuming everybody stops working with them. But other companies could stop working with them as well, right? Oh, fuck me. I don't... $75. It's HR 7521. This is it. Providing services to distribute, maintain, or update such foreign adversary-controlled application, including any source code of such application by means of marketplace, including an online mobile application store through which users within the land or maritime borders of the United States may. So, like the Apple Store and the Google Store should unlist this as well on the 19th if they don't want to come under fire from this. Oh, did Pam Bondi do a little bit of election denial? Oh, no.
Senator Hirano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As part of my responsibility to ensure the fitness of all nominees, I ask the following two initial questions. First, since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
Ms. Bondi, I am focused on two things in my evaluation of President-elect Trump's nominees. The first is whether the nominee is qualified and experienced enough to do the job. The second is a fitness to serve, which includes putting loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to the president. Unfortunately, in my view, many of President-elect Trump's nominees are lacking in at least one of these two requirements. Ms. Bondi, your experience as a prosecutor is the kind of thing we would expect to see in a nominee for Attorney General, but I do have questions and concerns about potential conflicts of interest, about whether you will keep DOJ's law enforcement responsibilities independent of the president's political whims, and about whether you will let facts and evidence guide your decision. So let's start with the importance of facts, which you say is important. Ms. Bondi, we want an Attorney General who bases decisions on facts. So I want to ask you a factual question. Who won the 2020 presidential election?
Joe Biden is the President of the United States.
Cowardly fucking piece of shit. Disgusting. Disgusting subhuman animals. These people are less than human and certainly less than American. It's absolutely shameful and disgusting that these people are supposed to be tasked with upholding the Constitution and enforcing the laws passed by the Congress in the United States of America, and they won't even acknowledge who won the election. It's absolutely fucking disgusting.
Who won the 2020 presidential election?
Joe Biden is the President of the United States.
Ms. Bondi, you know that there is a difference between acknowledging it and, I can say that Donald Trump won the 2024 election. I may not like it, but I can say it. You cannot say who won the 2020 presidential election. Okay. It's disturbing that you can't give voice to that fact. Moving on to DOJ's independence from politics. Ms. Bondi, if you are confirmed as Attorney General, you will take an oath to the Constitution and not to any individual, including the President. To start, I'd like to know whether you agree with some of the statements President-elect Trump made during the election, during the campaign. First, are the felons convicted of breaking into the Capitol on January 6th hostages or patriots, quoting Trump, as President-elect Trump has said repeatedly? Do you agree with his characterization of the felons that I referred to?
I am not familiar with that statement, Senator.
I just familiarized you with that statement. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not familiar with it, Senator.
No answer. He has also said illegal immigration is poisoning the blood of our nation. He said that in December 2023. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator, I am not familiar with that statement, but what I can tell you is I went to the border a few months ago. I went to Yuma, Arizona, and what I saw at that border was horrific, Senator. It was horrific.
Ms. Bondi,
I went to a rape crisis center.
That is not my question.
I went to a rape crisis center. Well, I'm not familiar with the statement, but I went to a rape crisis center. I met with Border Patrol agents. I'm sure you've been to the border as well.
I want to get to my next question. So I believe that you responded to a question from Senator Whitehouse, and let me get your response again. You said that the White House, if I'm putting words in your...
Don't ever let conservatives pull the wool over your eyes and do this thing about how they are against illegal immigration because they care about women or rape victims or children. You can dispel this myth very easily and very quickly with a single question. You go, oh, so if I could demonstrate that women or children that flee to the U.S. were less likely to be assaulted sexually than women or children who were in other countries, would you be okay with them just coming here then? The answer will always be no. They'll say, well, that's not relevant. There's a process. Like, okay, so then don't bring it up as a reason to be against illegal immigration. They don't give a fuck about any of this at all.
Your mouth, correct me. Oh, you said that the White House will play no role in investigative or charging decisions in the DOJ. Is that correct?
Senator, what I said is that it is the Department of Justice's decision to determine what cases will be prosecuted.
What role will the White House...
She's not answering that either. The White House is supposed to be separate from decisions made within the Department of Justice as a norm, because you don't want the president giving orders to the DOJ to prosecute people. You just don't want that to happen. Now, Republicans do want that to happen, and they'll tell you, well, it's because the Democrats have already done it, despite the fact that the Democrats kept alive or had two separate special counsels to investigate themselves, and Donald Trump basically obstructed justice trying to get an investigation about him shut down. These people are not the same.
White House have in investigative or prosecutorial decisions of the DOJ?
It is the Department of Justice's decision, Senator.
So that sounds to me that you're saying that the White House will not have any kind of role. Meanwhile, though, you have an incoming president who said, I have the absolute right to do what I want to do with the Justice Department. And in fact, President-elect Trump considers the DOJ to be his law firm. I ask you this. If President-elect Trump suggests, or hints that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived political enemies, would you do so?
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know you.
I am listening to you now. Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one who refused to meet with me, Senator. But what we would have discussed is that it is the job of the Attorney General to follow the law.
I'm very happy to listen to your responses under oath, Ms. Bondi. So I think it's really important to us that the Attorney General be independent of the White House. And you have a president-elect who considers the AG's office his law firm. I would like to know whether if the president suggests, hints, asks that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived enemies?
Senator, I certainly have not heard the president say that. But what I will tell you is 2/3 of Americans have lost faith in the Department of Justice. And it's statements like that, I believe, that make people continue to lose faith. If I am confirmed as Attorney General, it will be my job to not only keep Americans safe, but restore integrity to that department. And that's what I plan on doing every single day as Attorney General.
On August 25th, 2025, on Fox News, you said, when Republicans take back the White House, the Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuted. The bad ones, the investigators will be investigated. Ms. Bondi, is Jack Smith one of those bad prosecutors that you will prosecute as AG?
Senator, you hesitated a bit when I said the bad ones. Every decision will be made
in the eyes of the beholder. I'm just asking whether you would consider Jack Smith,
Senator,
to be one of the people. How about Liz Cheney?
Senator,
how about Merrick Garland?
I am not going to answer hypotheticals. No one has been prejudged, nor will anyone be prejudged if I am confirmed.
These are the kind of people, these are in fact the people that you would prosecute.
Your time is up.
Have you heard the recording of President Trump on January 2nd, 2021, when he urged the Secretary of State of Georgia to, quote, find 11,780 votes and declare him the winner of that state?
No, I've heard about it through clips, but...
This is why this is my fault directly. Because I said on stream, there's a top secret, like, ninjutsu strategy that all of the supposedly educated people, the attorneys, the political pundits, everybody I talk to, if there's ever a thing about Trump that's like indefensible, just say like you haven't heard of it. Like, what do you think about like the false electors? Or what do you think about this phone call? It's like, oh, I don't know anything about that. Like, oh, okay, well. It's like a secret hack, and it's like, oh, well, fuck, I guess I can't ask you any questions about it. Like,
80 votes and declare him the winner of that state?
No, I've heard about it through clips, but no, Senator, I've not heard it.
What was your reaction to President Trump making that call?
I would have to listen to the tape, Senator.
Well, the quote that I give you is exact. He said to the Georgia Secretary of State, find 11,780 votes.
Do you have the entire context of that call? I feel like it was much longer than that and may have been taken out of context.
It was an hour long.
Right.
And you can certainly listen to it. I hope you will. Every American should. As a former prosecutor, are you not concerned that the President of the United States called a state election official and asked him to find enough votes to change the results of the election?
Senator, I have not listened to the hour-long conversation, but it's my understanding that is not what he asked him to do.
You need to listen to it.
Like, what is this? Is this like hearsay testimony to your own? Like, what like, did you hear this? No. But if I had heard it, others have told me that this is what I would think about it. Like, what is that answer? Like, this is like advanced bullshittery. Like, I don't even know how to, like, how would you even parse that statement? How can you have an impression of a call you've never heard before? What? Like, you have no idea what was said, so how can you have any opinion whatsoever about it? Really makes you think. What was this?
The results, I accept, of course, that Joe Biden is president of the United States, but what I can tell you is what I saw firsthand when I went to Pennsylvania as an advocate for the campaign. I was an advocate for the campaign, and I was on the ground in Pennsylvania, and I saw many things there. But do I accept the results? Of course I do. Do I agree with what happened? And I saw so much. You know, no one from either side of the aisle should want there to be any issues with election integrity in our country. We should all want
Are Senate hearings just political theater? Like, do these questions / responses mean anything to anyone making decisions? It depends on what the hearing is. For these confirmation hearings, this is all political theater, yes. Republicans are asking things to basically tee these guys up for good coverage on their side, and Democrats are asking questions to farm clips to make shit on them in the general public. But in terms of who's going to vote on who in the Senate, I don't believe any of this is expected to change. I don't think it changes. I believe that all of his, from what my understanding is so far, all of his nominees are expected to survive their confirmation hearings and be appointed to their respective cabinet level positions.
our elections to be free and fair, and the rules and the laws to be followed.
I think that question deserved a yes or no. And I think the length of your answer is an indication that you weren't prepared to answer yes. Have you heard
the results?
believe
I accept, of course, that Joe Biden is president of the United States, but what I can tell you is what I saw so much. You know, no one from either side of the aisle should want there to be any.
I think that question deserved a yes or no, that you weren't prepared to answer yes. Recording of President Trump on January 2nd, 2021, when he urged the Secretary of State of Georgia to, quote, find 11,780 votes and declare him the winner of that state?
No, I've heard about it through clips, but no, Senator, I've not heard it.
What was your reaction to President Trump making that call?
I would have to listen to the tape, Senator.
Well, the quote that I give you is exact. He said to the Georgia Secretary of State, find 11,780 votes.
Do you have the entire context of that call? I feel like it was much longer than that and may have been taken out of context.
It was an hour long.
Right.
And you can certainly listen to it. I hope you will. Every American should. Have you heard the recording of President Trump on January 2nd, 2021, when he urged?
Yes.
Would you have hired someone into the Florida Attorney General's office who you knew had an enemies list?
Wait. Holy galaxy brain. During a radio interview Saturday with Larry Kudlow, Bessent said, tariffs can't be inflationary because if the price of one thing goes up, unless you give people more money, then they have less money to spend on the other thing, so there is no inflation. The inflation comes through either increasing the money supply or increasing the government spending, and that's what happened under Biden. Holy Galaxy brain, take. There can't be inflation if they just can't afford it. Holy, this man just solved economics. Oh my God.
Senator, to cut to the chase, you're clearly talking about Kash Patel. I don't believe he has an enemies list. He made a quote on TV, which I have not heard. I saw your sign, or Senator Durbin's sign, about Kash. But I know that Kash Patel has had 60 jury trials as a public defender, as a prosecutor. He has great experience in the Intel Department, Department of Defense. I have known Kash, and I believe that Kash is the right person at this time for this job. You'll have the ability to question Mr. Patel.
And I'm questioning you right now about whether you will enforce an enemies list that he announced publicly on television.
Oh, Senator, I'm sorry. There will never be an enemies list within the Department of Justice. Yeah.
Have said that Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted in the Trump administration. What Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted and why?
I said that on TV. I said prosecutors will be prosecuted, to finish the quote, if bad. Investigators will be investigated. You know, we all take an oath, Senator, to uphold the law. None of us are above the law. Let me give you a really good example of a bad lawyer within the Justice Department.
A bad lawyer within the Justice Department. Jack Smith?
A guy named Klein Smith, who altered a FISA warrant, one of the most important things we can do in this country.
This guy was already prosecuted and convicted, though. Yeah? So what is the... I'm assuming she's talking about the one that altered the email or whatever for that FISA thing or whatever, right?
So will everyone be held to an equal, fair system of justice if I am the next Attorney General? Absolutely. And no one is above the law.
Under you have...
Okay.
What circumstances will you prosecute?
We'll provide an insurance to every member of this committee that the
House and obviously one of the prosecutors, they're still...
Why are these clips getting progressively quieter? Because I can't change the volume? Why does my Twitter not let me change the volume?
Looking into Hunter Biden, okay? I mean, look, he's been pardoned. You can't charge him with stuff from 2014 on, allegedly, which I happen to think that should be challenged, but that's just me. You know, you're still looking into him because there's a lot of other people associated with that, including some others that receive checks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody that was paying the Bidens 7 digits or more, they were all in trouble. They were bad people in bad countries. You look at Jim Biden, most of the people that gave him money were domestic, and they were people in trouble here in the United States. So, you know, this is a shady influence peddling scheme. There are people in the government that covered this up. I hope they're held accountable.
But if we have, just as an example, an electrician in Bennington, Vermont, who's making $67,000 a year, with the tax credits that are set to expire, that family would have a $700 a month increase in their health care bill. That's going to hammer them. It's like $9,000. So my question to you is, in putting together this tax proposal where you...
Fuck! I forgot. I didn't sign up for health insurance. The final day was yesterday, wasn't it? Rip.
Are going to have to be making recommendations about how to pay for it. Will we continue to provide this help to Vermonters like this electrician in Brattleboro so that he doesn't get hammered on health care premiums going well beyond what he can afford?
Senator, as we discussed in your office, and I haven't had time to do my homework on this, as I think I told you that my family, friends, business colleagues, I often get sick of hearing my phrase, no data, no opinion.
No,
I will get up to speed. If confirmed, I will get up to this.
I appreciate that, but there's a couple of things that really make a difference for working Americans. Attorney General, do you think special counsels need to be confirmed by the Senate?
I will follow the law and I will consult with the appropriate ethics officials regarding the law. Right now, they do not need to be Senate confirmed, of course.
But you did sign an 11th Circuit brief arguing that they should be.
I will follow the law, Senator. That's why I said that.
Understood, but I was just getting to the clarity about the difference
Absolutely.
between a position you've advocated and what the current law is. Thank you.
Decision.
Attorney General. I know you may not expect it. I know you wouldn't have accepted this nomination if you thought it possible. But let's imagine that once again, President-elect Trump issues a directive or order to you or to the FBI director that is outside the boundaries of ethics or law. What will you do?
Senator, I will never speak on a hypothetical, especially one saying that the president would do something illegal. What I can tell you is my duty, if confirmed as the Attorney General, will be to the Constitution and the United States of America. And the most important oath, part of that oath that I will take, are the last 4 words, "So help me God."
So brave.
I know you may not.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do
department.
you see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have
I can't
difficulty?
believe this is even.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why
you're
do you have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question. It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the.
I am the law.
Discussed when we met. I said I was going to ask you some really basic, no tricks questions about climate change. So let me just start with those. First, as a matter of law, is carbon dioxide a pollutant?
Thank you, Senator, and I enjoyed our meeting with your team as well, and I look forward to working with all of you. As far as carbon dioxide emitted from you during that question, I would say no. As far as carbon dioxide that is emitted in larger masses that we hear concern about from scientists as well as from Congress, that's something that certainly needs to be focused on for the EPA.
And as a matter of law, it is a designated pollutant, correct?
Senator, while carbon dioxide is not named as one of the 6 in the Clean Air Act, the EPA has been treating it as such.
Yeah, because of a Supreme Court decision that said so, correct?
Correct, yes, Senator.
What effect, briefly and in layman terms, I know you're not a scientific expert, what effect are carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuel combustion having in the atmosphere?
Senator, while I am someone who believes strongly that we should work with the scientists, leaving the science to the scientists, the policy to the policymakers, and that we all work together. I don't sit before you as a scientist. Fortunately, at EPA, we do have many talented scientists who provide that research. They have that talent to be able to tell us exactly what the metrics are of their research.
Just generally, and in layman's terms, what effects do these carbon dioxide emissions have when they enter the atmosphere?
Trapping heat, Senator.
And what effect, again, briefly and in layman's terms, does methane leakage from fossil fuel production and transport have in the atmosphere?
Same.
Heat trapping also. And what effect, I'm from the ocean state, so I've got to ask this one, what effect are carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuel combustion having in the oceans?
Well, the emissions of greenhouse gases trap heat, Senator. As far as your concern that you expressed at the onset of your testimony as you showed.
Wait, I thought somebody linked me this is like him being horrible too. All of his things are seem fine so far, no?
That map of Rhode Island.
And as he had particular knowledge about the EPA's Clean Air Act and how that seemed fine, no?
You suggested, and as I mentioned, as I represented the district on the east end of Long Island, rising sea levels are concerns where I'm from as well. And it's one of the reasons why the federal government, through the Army Corps, had to invest in a Army Corps of Engineer project with the revetment of Montauk Lighthouse, with fear that if we did not do that, that Montauk Lighthouse, and due to erosion, would be collapsing into the ocean.
Is it correct that the trapped heat from carbon dioxide emissions and methane in the atmosphere is heating up the oceans? In fact, 90% of the heat goes into the oceans, and that is what is producing the sea level rise you just discussed.
That is what the scientists tell me, Senator.
Yep. And are the oceans also absorbing about 30% of the carbon dioxide itself, and therefore chemically turning more acid in measurable and clear ways?
Senator, as far as any specific numbers, I have to defer to the research of the scientists.
But generally that is happening.
Yes,
there is a link between the fossil fuel emissions and the acidification of the oceans.
Yes, Senator, I do understand that there's litigation here that to a certain extent I'm not going to be able to comment on as EPA administrator, but to the general question, yes, Senator.
Yeah. Have we hit the 1.5 degree?
Responsible. We need to work to close the deficit and bring the national debt under control. In 2013, Congress extended the Bush tax cuts for everyone except those making more than $400,000 a year. This bipartisan decision saved the Treasury $600 billion, helping to narrow the deficit. Do you agree that ending the tax cuts for those making more than $400,000 would help close the deficit and reduce our national debt?
Senator Warnock, I do not. I believe that you would capture an inordinate amount of small business people who largely are in that cohort of 400,000 to a million.
So you wouldn't cut it off at 400,000?
Do you think the average small business owner earns is making $400K on their 1040? No. What is the average small business owner making? I wonder. It might even be less than 100K. It depends on how long, I guess, you're allowing for like a business to survive for. Average small business owner income. I wonder how we would even quantify that. Like if your business is open for like 2 months, would that even count? Oh, I wonder if this is a BLS designation. Can I look this up? There's no way. There's a name for these stupid numbers. Bureau of Labor Statistics, small business owner income. Occupational outlook for self-employed workers. Like these are saying 83 to 126K is the average small business owner salary. Although to be fair, salary might not capture other types of earnings. Like if their business is paying dividends or distributions. Unless they're using salary casually here. I'm not sure. But that also might not matter because I think most small businesses fail, which would imply nothing is left at the end anyway, right? Theoretically. But okay, whatever. Anyway, this 400K plus tax is not impacting small business owners, but okay.
Of 400,000 to a million.
So you wouldn't cut it off at 400,000. What about $1 million?
That again, I believe these are small business pass-through owners, and
small business pass-throughs. You think that the average? You think there are small business LLCs that are earning $1 million or more of profit? That's a small business owner. I mean, theoretically it can, but like, bro, you're like in the top 1% of 1% of business owners at that point. No, what the fuck?
I believe that we, as I said before, Wall Street's done great. It is time for Main Street to do well, and small businesses need to drive what I call the reprivatization here away from this government spending.
I agree that it's Main Street's time. I'm from Atlanta, so I'll say Peachtree and some other locations in my state. What about those making more than 10 million? Would we reduce the deficit by?
Small businesses are generally known as 500K to 2.5 million. What, maybe for revenue, Metalloid, but not for how much the owner makes.
extending those tax cuts for folks making about $1 million.
Also, don't you typically define the businesses by like employee size? Although I'm sure you could generalize income to employee size as well.
$10 million.
So again, I think it's important that we put in incentives for them to invest. So going back to the 100% depreciation for equipment, that I think that.
So I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I'm the pastor, and we're known to be loquacious of speech, but I'm running out of time here. What about $1 billion?
So again, that I think that these are the job creators.
So there's no income level for which you would support raising taxes. Is that fair?
There is no income level that I don't think we should continue the TCJA as it was.
Those are the Trump tax cuts. So if the Trump tax cuts are extended, there's no shot that we are going to, that deficit is not coming down. The debt definitely won't come down. I don't even know if the deficit will come down. There's just no shot. Oh, these might be a good thing to look up. What are the, why not? Because the Trump administration won't raise taxes on anybody. And if the Trump administration isn't going to raise taxes, they're going to have to aggressively cut spending. And they're not willing to cut spending anywhere either. So what are you going to, how are they going to lower the deficit? And they want to increase military spending, which is the largest line item on our discretionary spending budget. How did voters see themselves, Harris and Trump, ideologically? I don't understand what this is supposed to mean. Is it funny because they think that Harris is just as liberal as Trump is conservative, or... and that voters see themselves isn't this exactly what you would expect to see? That the average voter, if you average out all the people on the left and the right, that they would average out as like, unless this is only polling like conservatives or something, or if this is only polling ugh, okay. They're a commie? Okay, thanks. Oh wait, fuck, hold on, one more. Our guy. He's our guy, okay? O'Malley. Anybody that I ever interview becomes our guy, okay? So Wickler is also our guy. I'm not calling for anybody, okay? But, holy fuck. What was this hearing from? What was this? I don't know what this was from.
I'd like to show you a picture. Well, how many SSA employees work out of SSA headquarters?
Approximately 7,000 and shrinking. We lost 2,000 staff this year across the agency due to Congress's inability to pass a budget. That, therefore, puts the agency into a hiring freeze, and attrition wipes out, so far, 2,000 people.
So on a normal work day, despite having about 7,000 employees, it shows in December 2023 a parking lot almost completely devoid of workers.
Yes, it's right behind you, and I hope the camera catches it, because that was before I got to the agency. This is a picture of that same parking lot after I got to the agency.
Okay.
Not the dueling pictures. Oh no.
Congresswoman.
This is your party's platform. You understand what I'm laying out for you. Do you understand English?
I understand what you're trying to lay out, but our party's platform is the economic security and the well-being of every man, woman, and child in the United States of America. That's our party's platform.
Damn. We should just need to bring more pictures to Congress, and then maybe they'll understand more. Like our hero, God rest his soul, for being a statutory coomer. I thought this was America.
Gentleman from New York is recognized. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute.
Oh, fuck. This isn't even the thing. Wait, we gotta find it. Hold on. Holy fuck, that was loud.
Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Weiner.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
My friends, I think it was truly an edifying experience that we had in the opening days of Congress, that we read the Constitution. And I think one of us had the great good fortune to read Article 1, Section 7, every bill shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it became law, be presented to the President of the United States. That's how a bill becomes a law. Now, this is how Eric Cantor on 3/30/2011 said a bill becomes a law. The Senate's gotta, this is just the transcription, I didn't do that, I just assume it's the Southern thing. The Senate's gotta act prior to the expiration of the CR. If it does not act, meaning the Senate does not do something, H.R. 1 becomes the law of the land. That's not true. That's not constitutional. That's not fitting of this body. Now, it is, however, consistent with how the majority party has been governing around here. They've passed rules that they have ignored. For example, on January 5th, they had members of their caucus take the oath in front of a television set. On February 9th, they failed to provide constitutional authority for a bill despite that it was one of their rules. On March 13th, they failed to get a 3/5 majority for passage of a bill that raised tax rates despite the fact that it was part of the rules. On March 17th, they failed to make a bill available within 72 hours despite the fact that it was part of the rules. And just March 30th, they failed to include an offset for a new government program. The rules are not a big thing for them to follow, because this is why it's hard. It's a big book. So I brought you this. House Mouse, Senate Mouse, which is sold in the gift shop to teach children how to understand the Constitution, and permit me to read. It's the floor of each chamber, the Senate and House, where each senator and each Congress mouse gets to vote on the bill. And if enough do, this president signs it if he likes to. Well, the Senate mices haven't passed this yet. Perhaps if this were the rules that the Republicans had to follow, it's a much thinner book and it rhymes, maybe you'd get it right. But this is not the Constitution.
Time has expired. The gentleman from Georgia.
Madam Speaker.
Members in the gallery reminded.
This guy was, okay, condemned from birth with this name. What was he supposed to do? All right. What is this? What was the outburst?
To the distinguished gentleman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from New York, Mr. Weiner.
Gentleman is recognized.
Great courage until all members have already spoken, and then stand up and wrap your arms around procedure. We see it in the United States Senate every single day where members say, we want amendments, we want debate, we want amendment, but we're still a no. And then we stand up and say, oh, if only we had a different process, we'd vote yes. You vote yes if you believe yes. You vote in favor of something if you believe it's the right thing. If you believe it's the wrong thing, you vote no. We are following a procedure. I will not yield to the gentleman, and the gentleman will observe regular order. The gentleman will observe regular order. Gentleman thinks that if he gets up and yells on it, he's going to intimidate people into believing he's right. He is wrong. The gentleman is wrong. The gentleman is providing cover for his colleagues rather than doing the right thing. It's Republicans wrapping their arms around Republicans rather than doing the right thing on behalf of the heroes. It is a shame. A shame. If you believe this is a bad idea to provide health care, then vote no. But don't give me the cowardly view that, oh, if it was a different procedure, the gentleman will observe regular order and sit down. I will not. The gentleman will sit. The gentleman is correct in sitting. I will not.
This is quite obviously not in order. Gentleman will suspend.
I will not stand here
Gentleman is recognized.
and listen to my colleagues say, oh, if only I had a different procedure that allows us to stall, and then vote no. Instead of standing up and defending your colleagues and voting no on this humane bill, you should urge them to vote yes, something the gentleman has not done.
Damn. Republican Hypocrisy 101 accused Dems of breaking social norms, e.g., FBI reaching out to Zuck while only holding your side to the strictest legal standard. It's Trump's legal right to sue Seltzer. That case is crazy. Okay. Wait, okay. I guess the Senate hearing. I need to become familiar with this because I have to make an insertion ad for this that I should have done yesterday. I was doing other things yesterday, like your mom and anything else. Oh, the hearing things are probably good. I need to figure out what I want the ad to be about, though. What story? I feel like the hearings would be a good one. Or maybe. What, Pam Bondi? The Senator depicts Pam Bondi's alignment with Trump, emphasizing the tension between her assurances of independence and her inability to denounce politically charged claims, suggesting potential conflicts of interest. The left stresses the contentious nature of the confirmation hearing, framing Bondi as a divisive figure, and hints at hypocrisy in her statements about politicizing prosecutions. And the right uses the term ultimate weaponization, illustrating Bondi's defense against accusations of partisanship, aligning her narrative sharply with Republican claims of injustices under the previous administration. Twitch.tv/Dan Clancy.
Need a hand?
What's going on over there? When you're sorting through articles, if you use Ground News, it looks like the Supreme Court will side with Texas in Pornhub v. Texas. It's about the age verification. The Dems too seem to be on Texas's side. Oh, I don't know any of the legal arguments there. I wonder if you're implicating. That must also be a strict scrutiny case as well, right? It's got to be a freedom of speech. It's content. But, oh no, wait. No, because age might only be a quasi-suspect class, so it might only be intermediate scrutiny? Maybe? Because it's only impacting children, and I think that there generally are reasons like why you would restrict rights to children. First Amendment stuff is more complicated than that. Sure. I wonder what the standard of review is for that. But since it's only targeting children, I feel like there's a decent chance. Actually, I shouldn't say anything because I have no idea. I haven't listened to any of it.